Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlicker, shills, destabilizers, peasants, vassals, Iraqis, Syrians, Sunnis, Shiites, Al-Qaeda. I'm a useful idiot, and today I want to talk about the fact that there was a clash inside of Iraq today, and 42 Syrian soldiers were killed. So this is an interesting development. It just adds to the total clusterfuck and the layers of complexity we have with so many agendas and so many players involved in the Syrian civil war. So we have now clashes on the border areas and exchanges of fire between all these countries in that region, including Iraq, Turkey, Lebanon, Syria, and the like. So this is getting very interesting. And so let me get back to the story, because this is turns out to be rather a mystery. We have 42 Syrian soldiers who were killed inside Iraq in a well-coordinated ambush. And this happened in Iraq's western province, Anbar. And some of us might remember that during the initial stages of the Iraqi occupation by U.S. forces, Anbar was a hotbed of Sunni resistance. It continues to be a problem for the Shiite majority that rules Iraq now, because Sunnis there are protesting the discrimination against Shiite, or against the Sunnis, which is rather interesting, because of course the Sunnis used to be in power. They were the minority. They were in power, and they discriminated against Shiites. But now the Sunnis are the minority still. They're not in power. The Shiites are in power, and the Shiites discriminate against Sunnis. So I guess that's just how it goes. But anyway, back to the story. Iraqi officials said that the Syrians had sought refuge from clashes inside Syria with the rebels and found themselves in Iraqi territory for a little bit of refuge. And I guess this has happened before. Syrian soldiers and Syrian wounded would take refuge inside Iraq. And this time they were found to go fairly deep into Iraq, and then were being escorted back at a different border crossing by Iraqi forces. And that's when the ambush happened. And apparently the ambushers had foreknowledge of the movement of these Syrian soldiers, and also set up roadside bombs, used rocket-propelled grenades and machine gun fire. So they killed all 42 Syrian soldiers, as well as the 7 Iraqi soldiers escorting the Syrians. And so this is a very interesting situation. The spokesman for the Iraqi government have suggested that it probably wasn't rebels, because they wouldn't necessarily follow Syrian soldiers into Iraqi territory. And their best theory is that it was Al-Qaeda elements. And certainly that makes some sense. But one can't rule out any other possibilities as far as interventionists or bad actors who want to broaden the scope of this war and bring other forces into play. And they will create instability and incidents like this in order to propagate that agenda. Right now, the details are a little too sketchy, and it's a little too hard to speculate as to what the agenda might be, other than further destabilization and further spread of this conflict in Syria for agendas that different participants have. But I also found it rather interesting that Iraqi Prime Minister Maliki last week said that he feared a victory for rebels in the civil war in Syria would create a new extremist haven. How ironic is that? The United States theoretically invades Iraq in order to eliminate another extremist haven. We've occupied that country for 10 years, and now Iraq. And the Maliki government is worried about a safe haven for extremists in Syria, the country next door. But of course, the understory to this is the fact that the Shiites, who are a majority ruling party in Iraq now, are more fearful that Sunni Muslims will come to dominate Syria, just because of the traditional clashes and animosity between the Sunnis and the Shiites. So of course they would feel that way. But I just want to bring this up because it's a pretty interesting development. We'll see if more details come out about this story. But another peculiar escalation, another overlapping incident, another border incident, and another flashpoint in this continually evolving scenario in the Syrian civil war and every country around it. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.